Knight, the reincarnation of honor and loyalty. Most knights are born of noble blood, raised from a young age to master wealth, martial skill, and proper etiquette, traditions refined across countless generations. Only after proving themselves on the battlefield or through great mechanical achievements, and only after those feats are officially recognized, do they finally receive the title of knight from their liege and complete what is considered their true existence. Lucian thinks that, in the end, it makes them no different from hunting dogs wearing expensive collars. That is why they are obligated to show courtesy to the liege who grants them wealth and honor, and even to that liege's bloodline. And yet, the man standing before him carries nothing but arrogance. The knight stands proudly, twirling his mustache, his gaze filled with intrigue and contempt. Lucian places one hand on the back of his neck, thinking calmly. His own low standing within the family must play a part in this treatment, but that is not the main reason. The real reason is obvious. The collar around this knight's neck is being held by the second Eggmaster. That backing is what allows him to act so boldly. Lucian thinks that if it were up to him, he would have started by reforging the man's mindset through intense training methods. He imagines tying him to a rotating wheel and throwing knives until discipline is carved into his bones. But even as that thought passes, Lucian knows the family's higher authorities would never allow such a thing. Regardless, a knight is a core military asset, a vital pillar of the family's strength. Punishment without formal procedure would only create unnecessary internal division. This is not the time yet. Lucian raises his voice and speaks clearly. It seems foolish to avoid training simply because of what happened in the past. From now on, he intends to visit often, if only to learn sword forms. As a year has already passed, he says, shouldn't he be moving busily to catch up? Enric bursts into loud laughter. Sword forms, he says mockingly. Third Eggmaster, you truly have a talent for jokes. It is already far too late, and yet you wish to learn sword forms now. Lucian steps forward, closing the distance between them. Enric continues smugly, saying he should be informed of the truth. Once someone passes the age of 15, it is already over. Core forms, Enric explains, are secret techniques passed down from their ancestors, created from moments of profound enlightenment and deeply tied to the physical body. They are the essence of ancient wisdom. But such techniques only hold meaning if the path of mana is open. Since that path closes at 16, practicing sword forms afterward is nothing more than physical exertion. Sword forms without enlightenment are an empty shell, no more than a meaningless dance. Enric places a hand on Lucian's shoulder, his expression twisted with mockery. Come to think of it, perhaps dancing suits you perfectly, Eggmaster. Why not seize this opportunity and become the Empire's #1 dancer? The surrounding soldiers glance nervously, but Enric continues relentlessly. That way you save time and find your true calling. Or perhaps gardening suits you better. Everyone has a role meant for them after all. Enric folds his arms and smirks, watching Lucian stand in silence. He thinks to himself that the claim about mana closing at 16 is complete nonsense, a lie that would be exposed with even basic research. But it does not matter. He can always smooth it over later. His objective has already been achieved. Lucian stands there, mocked by a retainer, unable to immediately respond, just like a year ago, trembling and humiliated. Or so Enric believes. Then Lucian speaks softly. Sir Enric, for some reason that does not align with what I know. The path of mana closes around the age of 25 or 26. As far as I understand, there should be no issue learning even now. Enric's eyes narrow. Are you certain about those words? Lucian's voice trembles, but he continues. It seems there may be a mistake. Does Brother Jodi share this view as well? Enric relaxes, fixing his hair with a smile. Of course, it is obvious common sense. He thinks smugly that this ends it.
Now that Jodi has been mentioned, Lucian will never dare challenge him further. But Lucian suddenly turns and grabs Anx by the hands, lifting them slightly. "It seems the Vildic family is doomed," he says calmly. "You think so too?" Anx trembles and cries out, asking why he is being dragged into this. Enric throws both hands into the air and shouts, claiming it is unbelievable that Lucian doesn't even understand common sense that a stray mutt would know. How many talents, he laments theatrically, have lost their future because of such ignorance? Tears nearly cloud his vision, he says, at the thought that his brother possesses such an empty skull. Adric shouts in alarm, demanding to know what Lucian is saying. Lucian snaps back furiously, telling him not to stop him. If what this knight is saying is true, then this is a disgrace to the family and a serious crisis. Is that not obvious? Lucian turns sharply, questioning whether Adric is trying to deceive him. Silence follows. Adric stiffens and demands to know what Lucian means by that accusation. Lucian immediately apologizes, claiming he misspoke out of disbelief. Then he laughs softly, the habits of his mercenary past flickering behind his eyes. There's no way a knight of the Vildic family would do such a thing. Of course not. Adric nods stiffly, relieved. Lucian smiles and says he knew it. In that case, this matter cannot be overlooked. Adric freezes as Lucian continues. "If the intent was merely to humiliate me, I would have let it pass." He stretches his hand dramatically, admitting that the family's disdain towards me is my own fault for neglecting my duties and wasting time. How could I resent anyone for that? But then his tone hardens. If a knight and my own brother, pillars of the Grand Duchy, are suppressing talent using false knowledge, that is something I cannot overlook. Shock ripples through the crowd. Lucian declares that such behavior would create cracks in the military power of the Vildic knights and could even become a grave threat to the safety of the territory's people. Placing a hand over his chest, Lucian declares that as one who carries the Vildic name, it is only right for him to be outraged. Internally, he thinks he has nailed it. Enric begins to sweat as Lucian turns to him. "Now, do you understand the gravity of this issue?" Lucian points to his own chest and tells him to prepare himself. He intends to report this matter to Father and formally request an internal investigation. Enric grits his teeth, fear and anger flooding his face. He cannot understand it. This boy used to tremble just hearing his name, so why is he making things this big now? Then his eyes catch something glowing. A red ring shines on the finger of a man walking behind him. A voice interrupts, asking what is going on and why there is such a commotion. Edric turns in shock. Jodi has arrived. Lucian laughs softly. Perfect timing. The second Eggmaster steps forward and glares at him. "It is you again, Lucian Vildic." Lucian meets his gaze and calmly calls him by name. Second son, Jodi Vildic.
The second young master, Jodi Vildic, walks toward them. Endric immediately runs forward and calls out, "Second young master, I will explain." His words tumble over each other as he tries to describe the situation, but his explanation quickly loses shape. Jodi lifts one hand. "Stop. You do not need to explain." He steps closer to Endric and speaks in a low, restrained voice. "I witnessed your disgrace with my own eyes. To be swayed by a child who has lived barely half your age is utterly disappointing." Jodi places a hand on Endric's shoulder. "Control your expression, unless you intend to place me in a most difficult position." He then turns his gaze forward. Behind Lucian, his servant trembles, clutching his sleeve and hiding behind him. The servant whispers nervously that Lord Jodi looks extremely angry. Lucian smiles faintly. Indeed, the expression is quite a sight. The second son of the Vildic family, Jodi Vildic, a successor befitting a traditional noble house, a noble among nobles. After his influence was pushed back by the first young master, he began recruiting people from outside the family. He openly declared that he brought them in himself, and if he judged them useful, he would overturn the board entirely. Lucian steps forward and greets him calmly. "It has been a long time, second young master. Have you been well?" Jodi looks at him without expression. He places his hand on Lucian's wrist. "You foolish fellow." Lucian responds evenly, as if confused. "Pardon? What do you mean by that all of a sudden?" Jodi questions what words were exchanged between Lucian and Sir Endric. He states that he witnessed everything and that Lucian's actions damaged the dignity of the Vildic family. Lucian smiles politely. "Could you explain so I may understand better? Damaging the family's dignity?" Jodi turns slightly and speaks coldly. "It seems there was a mistake. Since Sir Endric stepped back from the front lines, putting my name forward and stirring unnecessary chaos was clearly wrong. That responsibility cannot be ignored. However," he continues, "I have no intention of reprimanding him over this matter. I know how much blood he has shed for the Vildic family. I understand the weight of that loyalty, unlike you." He points at Lucian. "And for someone who could not even endure basic training and ran away, do you think you have the right to criticize him?" Lucian meets his gaze without retreating. Jodi continues, saying Lucian must first learn to respect the knights who uphold the Vildic name. He gestures toward the surrounding soldiers and declares that the Vildic family exists because of them. He then addresses the crowd, offering an apology on Lucian's behalf for today's commotion. He calls it the mistake of an immature child and asks everyone to show generosity. He adds that he will personally take special care of his foolish younger brother. A strange smile appears on Jodi's face. Lucian thinks to himself that this is how Jodi intends to play it. Even though the knight he confronted was protected by Jodi, and even though Jodi himself was the one being challenged, he has twisted the situation to save his own reputation while turning Lucian into the offender. Lucian smiles. "Fine, I will give you that much." He speaks again, his voice light. "As expected of my esteemed older brother." Jodi stiffens slightly. Lucian continues, saying that although there was a misunderstanding between himself and Sir Endric, it would have been reasonable for Jodi to scold him for daring to insult his elder. Instead, Jodi has bestowed such valuable teachings upon him. Lucian lowers his head slightly, acting ashamed. He says he is embarrassed for uttering such crude words, and that today, thanks to his older brother, this younger brother has learned once again. He suddenly raises his voice dramatically, declaring that such teachings must be recorded immediately. Paper would not suffice. They should be preserved on the finest silk. The soldiers stare in shock. Lucian continues, stating that through this lesson he will erase the weak image of his past self and engrave a clear presence in everyone's minds. The third young master of the past no longer exists. He walks closer to Jodi and states that he intends to take his leave. He asks politely whether he may. Standing close, Lucian adds calmly that there is no benefit for either of us to remain together. Jodi's expression twists. His eyes twitch as anger surges. "You bastard! It seems you truly have no fear." He demands whether Lucian thinks he can simply leave. He reminds him that Father is currently watching closely. Lucian replies calmly, "Father is indeed watching, but unlike Jodi, I have nothing to lose." He clasps his hands politely. "Then I will take that as your agreement." Lucian turns away, still maintaining perfect etiquette. He bids farewell to older brother Jodi and exits. Behind him, his servant hurriedly follows, calling out anxiously. Some time later, outside the training hall, the servant trails behind Lucian, glancing back nervously. He asks if it will truly be okay. Lucian stops and turns to him. The servant says he knows Jodi's personality better than anyone, and that he will never let this matter go.
Even if we survive this, that terrifying night might deal with him in secret. The servant trembles, tears forming. Lucian tells him calmly to relax. Only those who have suffered under ignorant authority know how crushing it feels. That will not happen. He smiles and reaches out to help the servant steady himself. A mere knight would never dare to act on his own, and Lucian would never allow it. He tells him that he has suffered a great deal because of him. When a master acts foolishly, it is always the servant who suffers most, especially a personal servant. Lucian promises him that from now on he will never again allow his own foolishness to cause his people to be looked down upon or to tremble in fear. The servant's eyes widen. Lucian's expression hardens with resolution as he tightens his grip. From now on, he will protect them.